Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. First tonight, Tasmania's hospitality boss has fired an extraordinary shot at public health over continued restrictions on vertical drinking. The Premier is refusing to budge until COVID testing numbers improve. It comes as authorities prepare for a crowd of thousands at this week's first Big Bash game in Hobart.
Crushed by COVID, Tasmania's orchestra is again stringing together shows. Now they're taking the big sound to the Big Bash.
I think everyone will like this. You know, the Tasmanian Symphony is a very groovy orchestra. They'll blend in with the cricket.
Thousands are expected at Thursday's match, prompting a familiar plea from authorities.
It's important as we start to enjoy the warmer weather here in Tasmania that people do keep on top of COVID.
There's a new campaign in time for summer.
Tassie, you've done a great job keeping on top of COVID, but we can't afford to get too relaxed.
Venue owners are far from relaxed. With vertical drinking laws easing in states like Victoria, the fight to stand in Tassie bars is turning nasty.
The Health Department have never liked hospitality and now they're showing their true colours. They'll keep hospitality shut as long as they can.
In terms of stand-up drinking, I'd like to see it happen. In terms of dancing, not that I'll be taking part, but I'd like to see that happen as well.
But easing the rules depends largely on one thing: increasing test numbers.
At the moment, they have dropped to around half the rate of some of the major states and territories.
Steve Old is warning Christmas could be crunch time for some pubs.
I'm worried about a few of the venues, to be honest. I think some of them are on the brink, and as I said, I don't think we've reached the toughest period because some of them have delayed bills and other things, and they need to have a good Christmas New Year period to get some money in their pockets to pay the bills.
And following yesterday's first Mercy flight to Hobart, preparations are underway for the next one, expected to land around December 23.
It is important that we assist and do what we can to bring Australians home.
It's also expected to arrive from India. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Public support for Peter Gutwin is dropping after reaching almost record highs at the peak of the COVID outbreak. New EMRS polling has found, despite remaining the state's preferred premier, his popularity fell by 9 points, down to 61%. Around a quarter of people want Labor leader Rebecca White in the top spot. Support for Tasmania's Liberal government overall remains steady, with around half of those asked supporting the party. On a 29-year-old motorist who ran a red light before colliding with another car, causing that vehicle to smash into a computer store in Launceston, has been sentenced to 12 months prison. Cody Ken Fazakali was driving a stolen car in the crash on the corner of Tamar and Scimitar Streets in July, leaving a trail of destruction. Fazakali will also be disqualified from driving for 3 years after his release. A 2-vehicle crash in Devonport this afternoon has left a passenger in a critical condition. The person was in the back seat in a car with 3 others when it drove through the intersection of Nixon and James Streets and crashed into a second vehicle. 5 people received non-life-threatening injuries. Anyone who saw the incident can contact Crime Stoppers. A fire engulfed a car on the side of the Bass Highway near Hadspen this afternoon. A number of passers-by stopped to help, but the vehicle was already well alight. A section of the highway was closed while authorities responded to the blaze. No injuries have been reported. And authorities swarmed to a Montrose property after a shed fire threatened to spread to a nearby home. Emergency crews were called to the incident on Tillyard Street just before midday. Firefighters were able to quickly contain the blaze, which caused around $20,000 damage. The cause deemed accidental. Authorities are calling for boat owners to take better note of weather warnings after several rescues over the weekend. They say some boaties ignored dangerous conditions and took to the waters.
A windy weekend that wreaked havoc on Tasmania's waters. Dramatic rescues filled the day for authorities.
Oh, absolutely horrendous. The winds were just amazingly strong. It was just unbelievable.
The weather warning sent out not heeded by everyone, with 3 rescue missions launched out of St Helens alone.
You should have checked the weather before you went. I will say that because they was advertising strong winds, gale force winds.
St Helens Marine Rescue aiding efforts by coordinating communications for one response while pulling in another boat themselves.
Oftentimes we're the first line of call for somebody who's in trouble on the water. We have our own rescue boat here, the Georges Bay, which is capable of doing a lot of things. It can't do everything.
The boat at the centre of yesterday's drama was saved by the activation of an EPIRB. Authorities are stressing the importance of safety equipment while on the water.
The Mast Authority in Tasmania published guidelines on what should be carried as a minimum, and it is a minimum of safety equipment on board. And particularly now as the start of summer, we need to ensure that all our boaties that go out on the water check their gear before they go.
While they can help out when things become tough, they're also reminding others to make returning to shore a priority. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Mona Foma has officially announced its 2021 lineup, and it has a Tassie twist. 90% of this year's artists are locals, as the festival prepares to take over 2 cities, shifting toward smaller, COVID-safe experiences.
Aiming for a bullseye, Mona Foma curator Brian Ritchie hoping he won't miss the mark with this year's Tassie-centric lineup.
We're splitting the program between Launceston and Hobart. We didn't know what kind of COVID restrictions might be in place in January 2021.
Featuring more than 350 artists across different venues, including at the Zinc Works, Beaumaris Zoo, Hobart Synagogue, the Gorge and the Old Car Museum. Organisers left tackling one big problem: ever-changing border restrictions.
We solved that problem by having 90% Tasmanian artists. And what was a problem became a really elegant solution.
One of those artists is Lauren Kronemeyer.
The audience members get a chance to shoot their first arrow and then explore a 16-target archery course that I've designed.
The course is inspired by Erica Eiffel, a world-class archer who married the Eiffel Tower and also had a relationship with her bow.
The targets that I've designed tell a story. They all feature text, which introduces the shooter, first of all, to some of the sensations that are going on in their body as they draw the bow and shoot the arrow.
The full lineup is now online and moves towards smaller, more intimate experiences to abide by COVID-safe restrictions. But whether people will be able to dance is currently in the hands of public health.
At our music concerts, we'll have mats that hold 8 people each, so it's like 8 people will be on their own island, and whether they can dance there or not, we don't decide that.
Tickets for the iconic festival go on sale tomorrow. Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
Australia's new icebreaker, the Noyina, is one step closer to arriving at its new home on Hobart's waterfront. The Antarctic ship is undergoing a 28-day sea trial voyage in Europe's North Sea before it arrives in Tasmania next year. Tasports is investing $3 million into infrastructure upgrades to ensure the berth is suitable for the 160-metre vessel. The ship will replace the iconic Aurora Australis. If you're a fan of sport and have a knack for keeping turf in tip-top shape, then this next bit of information may be for you. Launceston City Council is on the hunt for a new apprentice groundsperson to help maintain UTAS Stadium.
A lot of time and effort, so it is a job for those willing to work some odd hours at times, particularly around events. So, but the crew here, they really enjoy that atmosphere.
Keen to start to introduce new and young people into our workforce, to be able to provide them with the skills and the experience to be able to, eventually replace our older employees as they retire.
It's one of 9 apprenticeships on offer, the largest single intake in 2 decades. Other positions include a mechanic, horticulturalists and civil construction workers. Applications close next Monday. After a year of uncertainty, entries are now open for the 2021 Hobart Run the Bridge. The 2020 race attracted more than 4,000 runners, but next year organisers are hoping it will be even bigger.
People love these events and they've missed out on so much in 2020. So the fact that we're actually going ahead, we think will appeal to a lot of people.
Bringing back a bit of normality back into the state and a chance to, take a breath, because everybody sort of rushes around so much. So it's just nice to be able to spend that day where you're with a group of people, where you're running over the bridge, really iconic.
Entrants will be spread out to keep the fun run COVID safe. After months of uncertainty, theatre students from Launceston College will end the year on a high note, taking to the stage tonight. Leotards and leg warmers will fill the Princess Theatre for Flashdance the musical.
It's back to the 80s for this fluoro flash mob. After 11 months of rehearsals, opening night is finally here.
It's incredible, to think where we were only a few months ago, not sure whether the kids were ever going to make it to the stage with an audience. It's just really, really special.
Elise Colker plays the main character of Alex Owens.
Who is a steel mill worker by day and a flash dancer by night, and we get to see her journey from a not very confident young girl and blossom into this beautiful dancer throughout the show.
And she falls in love with the son of the owner of the mill. It's just a true 80s feel-good kind of musical.
Around 100 cast and crew have been involved in the production, which was originally meant to be performed in August. Students had to adapt to the COVID climate, rehearsing from home during lockdown.
It's been a long journey. Doing rehearsals over Zoom and over Skype has been quite difficult for a lot of people, including me, but it was just such a blessing to be able to come back here in the theatre and put on a show for so many people.
The fact that we're even in the theatre, let alone being able to share it with an audience, we're just so incredibly lucky.
The show will be held at the Princess Theatre over the next 3 nights. Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmania News.
Another new Hobart hotel has thrown open the doors just in time for Christmas and lifted borders. The Vibe Hotel is at last taking bookings after 5 years and $40 million in works. Among the first guests were Herb and Margaret Harding, who met at the site when it was something very different.
It was a ballroom, the Belvedere Ballroom, where we danced in the 40s. We both danced very well, no treading on toes.
Looking very, very strong over this Christmas period. We're full over New Year's and the few days before and after, which is really awesome.
The building features more than 140 rooms as well as 7 apartments.
Tasmanian Matthew Wade has made his debut overnight as Australia's T20 captain. Wade top scored with 58 off 32 balls, a stand which featured 10 fours and a 6. It was a tough induction for Wade though, with India running out winners by 6 wickets. All-rounder Johan Botha is coming out of retirement to rejoin the Hurricanes ahead of Thursday night's Big Bash season opener. Fatigue led to the South African-born Botha walking away from the game 2 years ago, but now he says he's refreshed and able to contribute. He's being joined by batsman Charlie Wakim as replacements for Matthew Wade and Tim Payne while they are on international duties. Caleb Jewell is also coming into the squad while Mitch Owen recovers from injury. Meanwhile, a new service delivering food and drinks direct to your seat will be trialled during Thursday night's match. The phone app, called Snacker, will be available to Hobart Hurricanes fans in the members stand. If successful, it will be rolled out across the venue. Even though it's an open arena, vertical drinking is still banned.
And we all know that you don't want to be milling around with your back to the cricket in a T20 game anyway. You want to be in your seat because you don't want to be missing any of the action.
Blunston Arena's capacity is capped at just over 6,000 people. Some tickets are still available. If you can't make it to the game though, 7 Tasmania will have all the action live. The long-standing lap record at Symmons Plains is under threat when a new motor racing event hits the track next month. The 600 horsepower S5000s made their debut at the course today and are expected to smash the 40-year-old benchmark. Supercars driver Jimmy Golding is becoming accustomed to a new challenge with some serious speed. He's swapping his Holden to make his S5000 debut in next month's Fast and Furious motorsport feature, Race Tasmania.
Real raw race cars, big V8 engine, a bit of aerodynamics for high-speed grip.
And possibly enough power to crack the track's 50.16 seconds lap record, which has stood since 1980. The open-wheelers pack a whopping 600 horsepower and will hit speeds of up to 290 kilometres per hour around the course.
tremendously fast, probably 30 to 40k an hour quicker than a supercar down that back straight, so pretty quick.
The S5000s are just one of the cars competing at the new Summertime Series, being backed by racing royalty Barry and his dad Gary Rogers. Also featured the first round of the TCR Australia Touring Car Series. Another supercars regular, James Moffat, will be behind the wheel of a Renault, taking on a smorgasbord of cars like Volkswagens and Hyundais.
We often don't see one manufacturer dominating, which is not what anybody wants to see. So there's the opportunity there for a number of different cars to be competitive on any different weekend, which is great to be a part of.
The Touring Car Masters and Trans Am series pack out the schedule, which Tasmanian legend Marcus Ambrose sees as the future of motorsport in Australia.
A really great spread of vehicles, and the teams are flocking to this series because they can race the cars that they want to race.
Simmons Plains plays hosts over Australia Day before the cars head to Baskerville for another 3-day meet. A welcome rumble after a year of silence on the track.
Good evening. Temperatures range from Mount Wellington's -1 to our high today of 22 at Friendly Beaches, Hobart and Burnie 18, Launceston 20 and Devonport 19. St Helens recorded 21, Flinders Island, Low Head and Ouse 17, Strawn 16, King Island and Grove 15, Lyre Weenie 11. The west-south-westerlies had the temperatures sitting below average while pushing low-level cloud right over the state today, mainly over the west. More of the low cloud sits over southern parts of the mainland and more cloud spirals around the low south of Adelaide. A jet stream directs cloud across the continent. Tomorrow a high establishes over the Bight, extending a ridge over a large area. A trough approaches our south. Winds west to southwesterly 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots over most waters and even stronger over the south later at 35 knots there with 5-metre swells. Gale warning from Tasman Island to South East Cape, a strong wind warning from Stanley to St Helens Point and from Wineglass Bay to Sandy Cape. Hobart cloudy and 19 tomorrow, 18 the top for Adventure Bay, maybe a shower or two. On Bruny, Tarraleah showers and 13. Launceston a partly cloudy 19, 18 the top for Devonport and Bridport, bit of cloud in the air. Burnie tomorrow cloudy and 18, 16 the top for Strawn with showers increasing, same for Marrawar. And in the east tomorrow, a top of 20 for St Helens and Swansea, 17 the high for Whitemark with a possible shower on Flinders Island. The UV as high as 10 tomorrow right over the state. A shower over the west and far south on Wednesday, extending to central and remaining southern areas in the evening. Cool and partly cloudy on Thursday, a light shower for the west, and on Friday fine and partly cloudy, southwesterly winds turning northerly later. Hot with a possible storm in Perth, partly cloudy weather in Adelaide and Melbourne. Looking further north, temperatures into the low 20s in New South Wales, 34 in Brisbane, stormy over the top end. Cloud over Hobart, it's 14. Cloudy over Launceston, 16 degrees and partly cloudy for Devonport at the moment and 14. Got sick of the wet weather over the weekend, Kim. Got amongst all my Christmas lights, blew up half my display. Back up the ladder for me this week.
Good work. You shouldn't do it in the rain anyway, it's dangerous. Before we leave you tonight, a spectacular and rare sight has been captured of our Tassie devils. The Toledo Zoo in Ohio recorded biofluorescence in this devil by putting it in darkness and shining a specific wavelength of ultraviolet light. It's believed to be the first time the phenomenon has been documented in the marsupial. That's all your news for now. Thanks for joining us this evening. Good night.